All right. Good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining us on this beautiful, slightly warmer day, not as cold as yesterday, Wednesday morning, to talk about buyers. And we have an awesome guest with us today out of the Western Springs office, and that is Nicole Veman. Nicole, welcome.
Hi. Hi, all. Thanks for having me.
So we're going to have some fun today, basically asking the same questions that I was asking Stephanie Campbell last week on buyers, and we'll get Nicole's take on that. So make sure you have your coffee ready to go, maybe a notepad or something like that. If you do have to jump off this call early or anything along those lines, that is fine. This is being recorded and then will be sent out tomorrow. So you will be able to go ahead and rewatch this. Before we jump into things, really quickly want to do a birthday shout out to our managing broker of our Oak Park and Orland Park office, Jackie. So if you know Jackie, if you have her email or her cell phone number, shoot her a quick happy birthday message. We won't talk about her age today. We don't have to do that, but she is awesome. I enjoy hanging out with her, so shoot her a happy birthday message. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. We have a set of 7 questions, same questions we used before, and we're just going to go ahead and dive right into it. Nicole, are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right, let's do it. So, question number 1, and again, we're focused on buyers here today, and I want to talk about your buyer process before actually going out on showings and actually getting involved with that client. So basically the buyer presentation, right? Those initial conversations, those initial things that we do. And I want to know, what are a couple of your non-negotiables that with every buyer from the onset, you always do?
Yeah. If possible, I really like to do 2 different things. I like to have an initial call. I'm sure most of us do that. And then I like to have a in-person meeting as well. On the initial call, obviously we chat, we get to know each other. I hear generally about their needs. I always really like to ask them, after they tell me all that, I really also kind of like to dive in and ask them how they like to live. Because I think sometimes they are really focused on like a White House with 4 bedrooms. And I think really understanding that they are really, really active, it sounds like, and them being by the forest preserve might provide a lot more long-term happiness than they realize that was important to them, or if they like walkability, how much community they want, how social they are. So I really like to understand how they like to live and who they are as people. I think that's really important. And then when we meet in person, I think I really like to I think buyers don't make decisions when there's confusion. And so you'll probably find out on this call, but I'm kind of an over communicator. But so I think I share with them, especially if they're first time buyers, I'm really clear about the buyer process, not only answering their questions, but really going over the entire process with them. And also really about the market, anything we're going to be up against out here in the Western suburbs. Most often many times we are in multiple offers. And so I kind of like to share with them, even if it's not rainbows and butterflies, I share with them. I set really clear expectations with them. And I might even talk about things that we might use, like you may be having to, you know, check as is or give up sign the appraisal waiver. I mean, these things are better to talk about upfront. I also like to kind of follow up with the questions like, how do they best like to be communicated with? Some people are better with text or phone calls or email. And I also really want, most people I work with have not necessarily worked with another agent and had a bad experience with them, but I really do want to understand what they're looking for in an agent. So if they've had a bad experience, I'd like to hear about that. And let them ask questions of me, and also things that they're looking for, because we all have our way we operate, but everyone might need different things. So I also always put, out here in the Western suburbs, pocket listings are pretty big. So I put everyone on Zenlist. I put everyone in the agent app. I usually talk up those things a lot. I think that's one of my value adds, is to be is to be able to offer information on pocket listings. So
Yeah, especially in the slow inventory market, right?
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So,
I love that initial question about how do you like to live, right? And what is your lifestyle like? And I agree, like with a lot of buyers, they are simply focused on those four walls, right? And they're focused on the features in there, maybe the way the kitchen looks like. And they really don't necessarily think about what their day to day is, right? Because they get obsessed with what that product is and not necessarily that lifestyle. And even in the getting what you're worth, buyer class that we did, we talked a lot about that. Like in that process, helping our clients really understand what their lifestyle is. Because sometimes they don't even think about it. They get into a
Yeah.
routine of the way they live in their current home, and they don't realize until they get to the new place what that's going to be like. So I really, really do like that question a lot. I think that's very smart. And then your comment too on the confusion, right? If you have
Yeah.
a buyer that's confused at all or has unanswered questions, they can't make a decision. I mean, I think that's even true when you're going to buy fast food or a pair of jeans, right?
Yeah.
Like if you're confused,
Human. Yeah.
you're not doing that, right? And especially when it comes time to buy a house. So just taking the time to have that long, over communicated, drawn out process is important to really making that buyer feel comfortable, right? So I
Right.
like it. All
Yeah.
right. So you had a couple for the next question. You had a couple phenomenal tips that I really, really did like. So I want to spend some time on this next question, and that's two or three things that you do once you get into that process, right? So you've signed the exclusive buyer broker agreement. You've sent them some stuff on Zenlist. They're like, "Hey, Nicole, here are a few things we want to see. We're ready to kind of go ahead and check these places out." Explain to me a few things that you do then to really elevate the experience and provide exceptional value to your buyers.
Yeah. I think by and large, I'm an agent over communicator, and I think I try to go above and beyond. And one of the ways I do that is, and many to so you understand, many of my buyers are local in my town, or sellers. Many though are coming from the city, people looking to move here. So this is especially helpful from the people coming from the city. But I really
And to
try.
quickly reiterate, you're out of the Western Springs office,
Yes.
and where's your business primarily? Like, where's your hyper focused business?
Yeah, my primary business, I live in LaGrange. My office is just the next town over in Western Springs, and I mostly work right here or other nearby suburbs.
Yeah.
I've lived in the city for a lot of years. I definitely do work there. Actually, my Indiana license, I grew up in Long Beach, Indiana, so I do a little bit of work there, or will refer there. And I will work other places, but I find that there, which we'll talk about, but I find there's value in really knowing a local market. So that is mostly where I work. And I love working with like first time buyers and getting them out here, and helping them really understand, the suburbs, I guess. But one of the things I'll do when we kind of start, and especially once I know what they're looking for, I really, on those first couple times out, I really try to listen and really understand what they like, what they don't, because then once I know that, I can help them and save them trips out. So I will go try to preview. We have a lot of broker opens out here. That's big. I try to go to those. I try to preview as many homes as possible, especially anything a client may like. I'll drive by, I'll take a video and be like, this seems great, except it's across from the school. It's a pretty busy street. Are you okay with that? Are you not? I try to really save them trips out. I don't want my buyers driving out, on a snowy night and they get here and right away they're just like, hard pass. Like that's a waste of everyone's time. And so it takes a little time for me to do that. But I think it's important. And you look educated. Or if they say,
Yeah.
how about this house? It's great. I believe the kitchen is going to be smaller than what you're looking for, but let's go take a look, right? Or whatever. But you sound like very educated when you say
Yeah.
something like that, and like you're really looking out for them and you're really taking the time. So I think really knowing your market and your homes, and what can you do to sort of save those buyers time. Um
Love
uh
that. Love that.
yeah, I also play once we are in homes. I think, and I'll probably talk about this later too, but I really try throughout my business to not be attached to the outcome. And so because of that and my over communication, I think I play a fair amount of devil's advocate. So even if you're like ready for this buyer to buy a house, when it's not the right house, or they might come in and just get really, as you said, Paul, like really attached to the way the kitchen looks. But I'm like, the
Yeah.
rest of the house isn't functioning the way you have expressed it needs to function for
Yeah.
you. And so I have had many buyers later say to me, thank goodness you said that, or oh my gosh, what a blessing we didn't buy this home, or I'm so glad you pointed out the positive things in this home. We weren't seeing those. And so I really try to really have a keen understanding of what they want and not be attached to the outcome. Maybe they're never going to buy with me. And I've shown them 50 homes and I'm really generous with my time every single time. But then they're really, good about referring me and paying me kind of back on that time. And then I think just fighting for them, having their best interest at heart, knowing when something's overpriced. And they may have to pay for that home overpriced, but I just want them to know that and know that they're getting into that. So I think just continuing to fight for them and doing as much pre-work as you can.
Yeah, the pre-work thing I really do like, because I think that's the one thing that we have access to that information, right? We have access to the brokers' opens. We have access to homes as they are coming on the market or before they hit the market. In your situation, especially living in LaGrange and living in the suburb, when you have people coming in from the city, you have the ability to do something that might take them a total of 2 hours. You can do in 15 minutes, right? Do that drive-by, take that video, send them that information. It's a massive value add. And it also works the other way around. For us who have clients that might, let's say, live in the suburbs and they're coming to the city, if you're a city agent, you're in the city, doing that pre-work and letting them know that information, I think really does have huge value. Because at the end of the day, our biggest asset really is time, right? And that's true for our clients. So that I really do like.
Yeah. And I think too, another, if you're trying to just stay connected with people or connected with a buyer and you feel like you don't have anything, you don't have any homes to show them because there's nothing on the market. I think even, and I mean, do this honestly, but like go to broker opens if that's something, or go to whatever is on the market and then write and say, hey, I have been keeping an eye out. I just visited blah, 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 blah address. And I don't think it's going to work for you, but I can't, I think like showing that you're
Yeah.
going to a home, even if it's not the right home for them, I think shows that you're working and shows that, you have that value and you're working for them. You're keeping an eye out.
Yeah, and especially when inventory is low, right? We will have those gaps with our
Yeah.
buyers where we
Yeah.
might not be seeing or showing them anything for 30 days, 60 days at a time in
Right.
some cases,
Right.
right? So it's really important to really show that that we are working.
Yeah.
And then to go into your devil's advocate, concept. I know when we had our pre-call yesterday, you're like, do we really want to talk about that? I'm like, no, that's phenomenal.
Yeah.
And I think even more so now, when you do have a low inventory market, buyers are trying to basically put a square peg into a round hole, right? Like they're trying to make something work. And I think it really is our job to keep our buyers from making a mistake. I mean, the number one issue I think in sales at the end of the day for why somebody doesn't want to buy something or they're afraid of making a decision is they're afraid of making a mistake. So it's really important for us to play that devil's advocate. And I think then it goes to show that we really do have our client's best interest at heart and we're
Yeah.
not just trying to make a sale.
Yeah. And I think we had sometimes, like I just had buyers close on a property that was so expensive for 3 bedrooms. And I am like, but I was there wasn't a lot. We won it in a
Yep.
multiple. Lots of other people were going to pay that price. I was very clear with them about,
Yep.
the my thoughts on that. And they still chose it was the best place for them. And that's great. And I hope that
Yep.
doesn't matter. But like we also can't, want to fight them tooth and nail on it. But I think just they hired you for your information and your expertise. And so share that, so.
Yeah. I like that. I like that. All right. Before we move to the next real estate question, I always like to do something different from Amy Core because she's amazing. So whenever she does these, I want to one up her a little bit. We're going to go with a personal question here, Nicole, and that's your favorite movie. So what is your favorite movie?
I mean, I'm sure so many. I think, you're like so influenced in like high school and stuff. And I remember like loving Good Will Hunting.
Okay.
I actually recently just watched that like earlier this year. I hadn't seen it in like 20 years probably. And I have a lot of children, so I've been watching a lot of children's movies. So I think there's some sweet even kids movies like Wally, I think is a really sweet
Okay.
like kids movie. I don't know.
I
How
like
about you?
it.
What do you like?
So for me, my all-time favorite is Goodfellas, and that's
Mm,
just I love that
that's
movie. If
it.
it's ever on, I gotta watch it.
Yeah.
And then since I said Goodfellas last week on the call, my second one, I'll give a second one, Shawshank Redemption. That's the other.
My
Both kind
dad's
of
favorite.
a
So
little bit,
good.
really. See, there you go. Exactly.
Yes,
A little bit on the darker side, but I
it is
think
a little bit.
yeah,
Yeah,
but a good
it's
movie.
good.
A good
It
movie.
is. It
All right.
is.
Back to some real estate here. So in the buying process, right? What are some things that maybe in the past you spend time on that you find yourself really not spending time on now?
Yeah, that's a good question. I guess probably, and I know this is hard, is easy to say when you have enough business, but I really do believe that I want buyers to have the best experience. And so I think a couple of years ago, I really started referring out if I was not in the location to put, it was a really tight market in almost all these suburbs. And if I felt like I just really wasn't going to have the beat on all the pocket listings or on whatever, I was referring. And I think not only that, but also if you just find you're not a good fit, like the way you work or you're not getting along, it's like, the stress,
Yeah.
and again, it's being attached to that outcome. And I think it's your stress level, their stress level, them having the best experience, and maybe just saying, hey, I really feel like you working with a specific, for me, I don't know, a Naperville agent might get you the best experience. And I'm here. If you don't want me to do that, I'm happy to continue to work with you. And again, I know that's easy to say, not that I have so much business, but when you have it, you have some deals.
Sure.
But at the beginning you take all the deals. Of course, and I did too. But I think I'm doing better and I'm a better agent to the deals where I feel like I'm a good fit. All around, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I really agree with that, and I think too it we really want to operate from a place of abundance, right? And I think
Right.
sometimes when we are chasing all those random deals, we're doing a couple of things. One, we're not operating from the right mindset, but two, we're really not doing the best service for our clients at the end of the day. So I like that.
Yeah.
And we actually have a question in the chat here from Miss Victoria Nash, and this is going to go kind of back to the previous question we had, and she wants to know like what's your follow-up process with buyers as far as when you're actively working with them? Are you touching base with them once a week? Are you checking on their search results on a weekly basis and then making comments? Do you have any kind of set system for that?
I'd like to say that I do. I'm not sure that I do. Um, so obviously I have, let me see if I can find it here. I have obviously try to check the hot sheet every day. I have kind of made my own, like I did Ninja, and I'm used to buy the Ninja calendar every
Okay.
year. It would help me sort of just keep
Yeah.
some processes in place and things that I would do. I have sort of made my own version of that. And I have just printed my new ones for the year, but like hot lists and warm lists. And I literally just like write the people's names in. And I do look at that every morning. And I just am like,
Nice.
okay, Allie, what's going on for Allie today? And or maybe not every morning, three mornings a week, like just depending on whatever. But
Sure.
and I will look at all look at all the listings, look at what's new, what's hot, look at the pockets, and I'll look through these people. I mean, a lot of it, and maybe it's because I don't have like a billion clients, I'm able to sort of know, I can just kind of keep it in my head, I guess. Like, we saw these yesterday, they didn't like any of them, but I know they're kind of dejected. I will reach out to them. Or,
Yeah.
sometimes if they have lost an offer, maybe I'll send them a bottle of wine, tell them we'll keep going, So I actually
Nice.
should probably implement some more. It's kind of on always been goals, ADHD,
Sure.
just but I do look at these lists. I would say find your process. This has been helpful for me, looking at each person, looking at what's happening each day in the market. Again, maybe 3 days a week. If there is no, as we said, if there's nothing going on, then probably once a week, maybe once every 2 weeks,
Sure.
I just kind of reach out. Hey, let them know I have been looking, and I'll do that text, email, again, whatever we've
Yeah.
decided is our communication. Um,
I think that's great. And I think like the
but
key to that is like what you already said is like, hey, you look at that sheet every morning or at least a
yeah,
few times a week. And that's what we have to be doing, right? We just have to make sure that we are not letting things kind of slip through the cracks. So just by even having that there in front of you and looking at that, it jogs your memory. And then too, your reach outs to them are are more authentic, right? Like when you actually
Yes.
go through that list, you're like,
Yeah.
oh, you know what? I need to be reaching out to them. It's been a week. And then you are doing so in the right way as opposed to some auto-generated email or something like that.
Yeah.
So
And I do keep in my, I use notes app in my phone a lot. I do keep in my notes app, like, Molly Smith, and then like any pocket listings that might be coming. I just try to keep like, even if it's going to be a long time before that's up, like just so I can, hey, I'm keeping an eye on 42.6 for you, right? But probably I would just say it is probably better if you have a process because this probably does fall away when I get really, really busy. So
sure.
implement your own process. Don't take my
There we
advice.
go. Like the advice. All right. Next question. What happens when I'd say either you don't get the business on the buy side, or maybe you just didn't have the best experience with the buyer? Do you have a self-reflection process? Do you ask the buyer any questions, or how do you kind of evaluate what you did to try to make it better next time, or just learn from that experience?
Yeah, I mean, I think luckily I don't have like a ton of these, but I did when I was a newer agent, I was selling a friend's condo and I kind of promised them something that wasn't I turns out couldn't really do. And it kind of, they live here in LaGrange now, we are friends, it is fine. But um it was definitely an uncomfortable situation. And so I did talk to him and apologize, obviously. Um, I didn't really ask questions. I think that's probably a good idea, right? As all relationships in life, addressing it head on is probably good. But it did kind of help me do some self-reflection, really understanding laws. I mean, obviously, but like really understanding the marketplace that you're in specifically and what our best practices for that area. And yeah, I think just being mindful with our work. I think we're really used to filling out that contract. We're really used to a lot of things. And actually a lot of things are changing. So I think just being really solid and mindful um about your work and yeah, and being open to having a self-reflection process. I probably wasn't as open as I should have been with this person, or I
Sure.
overpromised, or right, I'd rather under promise over deliver. um
No, 100%. Yeah.
And then also
Yeah.
just calling in help if you need, just saying, I actually don't know. Sorry, my dog is not thrilled.
No, that's okay.
I actually don't know if we can do that. I'll call my managing broker and I'll get back to you, right? Rather than be like, I'm sure I'll work that out. Like, nope, you may not actually
Yeah.
work that out. So I think just
You know what? I
being
love
open
that
to
advice. Like,
self-reflection. So
exactly. Like, be open to self reflection. And then, even during the process, right? Be open to help, be open to assistance, and be open to asking questions when you
yeah,
don't know. I think
absolutely.
sometimes we get in the middle of a deal or middle of a process and we see the finish line and we're just going for
Yeah.
it. And if we make a mistake there, the client's going to remember. So
Yeah,
I think just
absolutely.
being open to that, I think is
Yeah.
great. Like it.
Yeah.
Thanks for that advice. So let's go on to tools. What tools specifically here at App Properties, right? So, like, what tools do we have available to you that you seem to utilize with either every buyer or at least most buyers that you feel like really does add good value to your business process?
Yeah, kind of a mentioned some Zenlist I really like. I know people have mixed reviews on it, but I really like that it shows pockets. I think it's again in the suburbs, we have a lot of those, and so I find that's really useful. I think people think it's cool. And I even allow people that have already bought to, I mean, because I have it anyway. So like
Yeah,
people to just keep it, or people I know they're not really ever gonna buy, but I keep them on there, whatever. And they
yeah,
feel like that's a value. I think the agent app is really interesting. Sellers and buyers, I think it's cool when you are meeting with a buyer initially to be able to pull out that app and be like, I mean, look before you do this, because maybe there's nothing on there, but like, and be like, oh, look, here's four, even if it was past last year, here's four pockets
sure,
in the range last year, whatever, but like that are on here. We're the only really brokerage that has this app that communicates in this way. I think that's a really powerful tool. And not that it always gets us anything, but I think even saying, I'll post on the app about your needs, right? Whether you get something or not,
yeah.
it 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 seems seems like a value add. I think closing milestones is really cool. I think that
Okay,
helps people to just know what's going on. You can kind of have everything in one place for them and the lender in there and their, radon guy and, all that stuff. I think that that's really interesting. I will be honest, I actually really want to get into the digital bio presentation this year and
Okay.
just haven't. I think with the changes that happened last year, I think the digital buyer presentation just helps to formalize this process, and it is just now a more formal process. And so we just have to adapt to that. So I think having something like that, absolutely, especially if they're interviewing multiple people, because now they have to sign something with you. I think it absolutely sets us, can set us when I start to use it, above above others and separate at from other brokerages. So
Love
um
that.
yeah.
Nice. All right, so we're going to hold you to that goal of using the digital buyer presentation this year. We'll
Check in
check
on
in
me.
this time next year, and
Perfect.
we'll see how we'll see how it's gone. And even for those, even like if you're going up against another ad agent for a buyer, right? If they send the digital buyer presentation and you don't, right?
Totally.
You're now
Totally.
behind. So,
Yeah.
everybody out there on this call, utilize that. No one's going to get upset if you send that. It's the more the better, at the end of the day when it comes to that. So I like it. All right, let's see what's our next question here. Let's talk about compensation or commission, right? And I just want you to, whether we're talking mindset about this or we're talking maybe some issues you've come across over the past, really 6 months, really since August 17th, on the buyer compensation. So how's your success been for getting exclusive buyer broker agreements signed? And then also, how has your success been when it comes to, especially in the suburbs where there's been a lot of multiple offers, right? Submitting that compensation addendum at what you believe is your fee, what you're worth, and actually achieving that and getting the seller to pay that for your buyer.
Yeah. Um, from what I have heard, what I'm about to say isn't totally new. I think I've been having an experience that most people I hear are having. My largest concern actually was winning multiples with it. I'm in multiples all the time out here. And I really try to have really good, another tip for buyers, I really try to have really good agent relationships. I think that's really important. Um, Especially within your community if you have agents that live out here. But so agents that I am friends with, either during the deal or after, whether I've won or not, I'll ask them, if I'm on the buy side, how many offers, if you had 10 offers, how many came in with it? Almost all are coming in with a 2.5% ask. So I think that that's really helpful to know. Obviously, sometimes it's not, we can't beat it, but it comes down to the net price. And, if it still works, it still works. So I've been really worried about that. That has been so far working out. I'm not saying that's going to be the case every time.
Sure.
So far it has been okay. And then I think it is just formalizing our process, right? It's us having confidence in what we do. We're having to ask these buyers to work with us. And again, my buyers from the city, they need me or someone, someone, um,
Yeah.
they need a local agent and they know that. And they need someone who's going to work hard for them and have pockets. So for those buyers have been especially easy because they know they need it and they're willing and want to sign it because of that. The local people, I have a lot of people who are like, I may move if I find the right house, like just my friends locally or people locally.
Sure. Sure.
And that is a little bit of a harder sell. Because they also in this community, they can just buy like the house I live in right now. I mean, I just bought from my neighbor, just on my own, right? Like that happens out here a lot too. And so that is a difficult, it is difficult. So I think you just kind of, again, stay focused, trust the process. Um, it's, it's going to work out sometimes and it's not others. I think in the end, it is, I actually think, I told you yesterday, I think AT's talking points on all of this have actually been really spot on and really helpful. And it's really just maybe saving some time. If someone's not going to want to sign with you, great. I don't have to show you 50 houses and then have you not
Yeah,
do
exactly. And it's
it.
it's a great
like
point
off to
because
like, whenever.
last week we were saying the same thing. Stephanie Campbell is the same way. She goes, you know what? Sometimes you'll lose a couple, but those are going to be the ones that are going to be the greatest time suck. Those time vampires or energy vampires, whatever
Totally.
term you want to use,
Yeah.
and it takes away from your energy to be focused on your other buyers and your other clients. So I think it's like you
100.
said, trust the process, look at
Yeah.
ways you can provide additional value, like you have done, right? The pre work that you're talking about, playing devil's advocate, helping them from making a mistake, which at the end of the day can be extremely costly,
Yeah.
especially like with a single
Absolutely.
family home, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
really, really important stuff. All right.
Yeah. Yeah.
So now let's say we've had a great experience with a buyer. You've closed them. They love you. You love them. Everything is rainbows and butterflies and unicorns. What do you do after that? So like what are some things you do to stay in flow with your buyers to encourage referrals, basically from the time of closing onward, 1 year, 2 year, 3 years, etc.
Yeah. I think, and this isn't always like expensive stuff, but I think I really try to be in tune to the buyer. If they're really into coffee and I find that out throughout the process, then, maybe local coffee shops and mugs with your town's name on it. Or I've been supporting a local artist here and getting like gift certificates. And then that's been really interesting for people. So I think definitely like I think a gift, something of appreciation, whatever you decide and whatever monetary value that is. But again, you can have a standard thing. Like I've done the Cutco knives; those have been really easy and well received. I think having something more personal is also great if you're able to do that. I do an event every year that is always well received. I have a photographer come and we do family photos in the fall, but it's so great because I get like the way I set it up. The entire family usually comes. So not just the wife or just the kid, like I get the whole
Yeah,
family. They're appreciative of it. It's something they want, but it's also not something where like all the clients have to interact because all the clients don't always want to just have cocktails and, so
yeah,
and they don't necessarily all know each other. And so that's been really helpful. I do the agent gatefold maybe quarterly. I think it's a really beautiful piece. People will always text me like, "Oh, that looks great." And whether you have stats to put in there or it's a really nice piece. So I do those. I actually do a fair amount of drop bys. Again, I work with a ton of local people. So I mean, right or wrong, I probably do focus my efforts, especially over the years, more on my local community, more than people I've sold to an hour away. Um,
sure.
but I will, it's kind of cheesy, but I have 3 girls and they'll sell Girl Scout cookies and I'll buy like tons of Girl Scout cookies, get them to win some sort of prize. But I will, just sometimes I'll just even ask for the referral. Sometimes I use that. Sometimes I'll send an email. But like I'll slap something on there, like if you know anyone scouting for a house this year, and I'll like go drop it by 30 clients' house. I'll make my kids run up and put it on their porch. So I think, I will once a year, I might send an email. So whether it's the beginning of the year, or maybe it just kind of depends on again when I get to things, but just I've had, I'm so grateful for you. If you know anyone moving, please think of me. And then I think just I'm a fairly outgoing person. I'm a connector. I'm involved a lot in my community here. I think being that connector for them, I think being able to give them recommendations on where they should get their car fixed. And, people text me all the time about preschools and about, all kinds of things. So whatever way I can go above and beyond in that regard, I think that they find helpful. And, introducing them to the local guy who owns the bar. And I don't know, whatever you can do, I,
Yeah,
you continue to be sort of in their life. And, yeah, if you can do the reach out for birthdays or, I mean, any of those things, I think, again, find what feels authentic to you. I think probably doing drop bys to me actually is easy. A lot of people live really close here. It's easy for me, but like that's probably not something that really is feasible for a lot of people. So find what works for you and what feels
sure.
who you are, you know.
No, I really like it. I love the idea of the drop bys, especially if you have the ability to go ahead and do that. And even I have a lot of agents even here in the city that will do that. It takes a bit
Yeah.
more time in the city with parking, but
Yeah.
they will plan that out over a quarter and make sure they are hitting everybody. And the amount of information they can sometimes get just by seeing some clients face to face and having conversations, or maybe even when you're going to drop something off, you notice, oh, they painted this or they did this to their landscaping. It gives a point that you can go ahead and have a conversation with. So I think that's great. I love the concept of being a super connector. even not just real estate, whether it's like you
Yeah.
said, connecting them to a bar owner, a restaurant owner, or get, where they can go to get their car fixed. You become their go-to for anything. And like I've always said with my agents is I want your clients calling you for restaurant reservations. Like that's the kind of connection I want you to have. Oh, all
Right.
right. Who's this one right here?
This is Pearl.
Hey, Pearl.
I'm getting a lot of walks because it's been cold. And I do think, and I really am not the best with this, you can probably tell. But I think with all things in real estate, I do think like pick the couple things you want to do this year. I think that really actually is important. You can't do all of them. You shouldn't do all of them. So
Yeah.
just and it really is best to have a process. So if you want to do 2 Popeyes this month and this month, just plan it out, set a day and do it. It doesn't
Do it.
actually take all that long. It's just planning our work. And this is a message for myself also.
There you go. There you go. You can rewatch this and then you'll be telling yourself that message. Love it. All right. So we're going to have one more question. We're going to wrap with a pro tip. But before that, let's go to a personal question again, really quick. Your favorite cocktail?
30 martini, blue cheese olives.
Okay, love it. All right, so we're close. We're close.
Vodka or gin?
So I'm vodka. How about you?
I would say I probably vodka, but I would do gin too.
All right.
As long as the blue cheese olives is the differentiating factor for me.
Gotcha. Okay. So I'm not a huge olive person. So for me, it's just a lemon twist,
Yeah.
and just straight vodka. So and
Alpha
Kettle One
vodka.
vodka for me. So
Alpha vodka.
there you go. There you go.
Class.
All right. Let's have a pro tip. If you have one piece of advice to give to anybody here watching, anybody in the business, what is that? What is that one pro tip?
Yeah, I would just say like lean into you and who you are, be authentic. Again, for me, I am outgoing. It's easy for me to be a connector. So I do that. I lean into that, but be who you are. I think being honest. I was telling you yesterday, I think unfortunately we're in an industry of people that aren't always super honest and aren't always super authentic. And I just want to be the person. And there's a lot of great agents that buck that, but like I want to be one of those people that sort of bucks that system. And I know again, this is easy to say, but even from the start of my business, I just was really trying to not be attached to the outcome. I just think it's the business will follow. And I also said when I moved to the suburbs and became an agent, I was like, I really have to, my friends are going to use me, but some aren't. And you really can't, me having expectations of other people and who's going to use me and how that's going to go is just going to set me up for disappointment and stress. And so I'm not saying it's never happened, but like, it's a really sticky business. And so I think just kind of trying to like, keep your head above all that if you can, and yeah, you're gonna have hard days. I do a lot of crying on people's porches, but try to just stay true to who you are. I think and what you know is right. And I think the business will follow that.
Yeah, I love that. I love the concept of not being attached to the outcome. And I know it's difficult for us to sometimes remove ourselves, but it's important. It's we're in a relationship business, and relationships really precede financial results, right? And if we're able to help our clients get to where they want to go at some point, whatever that process looks like, they're going to be returning that favor with loyalty and with referrals. And that just really has to be the foundation of what we do. So
yeah.
So I love it. All right, Nicole, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Pearl, thank you too for showing your pretty face over here today and making everybody smile.
Camera.
So thank you again so much. Really appreciate it. Everybody, stay warm. If you have any questions for us, feel free to go ahead and shoot over an email. I can always go ahead and forward it to Nicole, and we can get those questions answered for you. And this will be recorded and sent out. And then the next presentation for 25 Jumpstart is going to be Friday morning. Kevin Rhines is going to be leading that, and we're going to be talking prospecting and referral generation specifically on that call with some cool tips and tricks for all of you. So make it a great Wednesday, stay warm, and we'll see you around.